This week's episode reveals the true nature of Redemption House and whose face is under the Bloody Rose bandages. Starting off with another recap sesh at Pinball Pizza, Noah explains that she was forced by Bloody Rose to run through a path of stems before she was rescued by Jen, who was on her way to the Friday the 13th marathon. Which is like a reasonable explanation for why Jen showed up when she did. I don't know if I believe it, but it's totally possible that it was just lucky timing. The girls realize that Tabby and Imogen's tests are coming up, and Tabby says that they have to do everything in their power to survive, which got me thinking, is Tabby gonna kill someone? Last season, Imogen had to fight off Archie, and he did survive, but what if this season, Tabby has to actually kill her attacker in order to survive? The next morning, Kelly shows up to summer school to invite the students to Redemption House, which she describes as a production about how to avoid bad choices and how to make up for them. Imogen is not happy to find out that Redemption House will be staged at her old house, which was apparently rented not by the church, but by an LLC, which reeks of Mrs. Beasley. She's probably the one handling the church's business, and she would be the one to register them as an LLC and rent the house. At the pool, Farron asks Greg about Redemption House, and he says it's like a religious haunted house, and Mouse finds out from Ash that it's actually like a hell house that depicts sinners being punished for their sins. After filling in the other liars on the truth about Redemption House, Imogen and Farron confront Kelly about it, and she tries to explain that it's about new beginnings and second chances, something she clearly needs to believe, but the girls don't buy it, and Farron says some people just can't be saved. Later that night, the girls show up to Redemption House, but before they can go in, Tabby and Imogen are confronted by Mrs. Langsbury, who calls them liars and says that they're beyond redemption, and I am so sick of her. She's had 2 scenes, and she's somehow the worst. The girls enter the house, and the first room is based on Mouse planning to meet up with Steve for Halloween, and immediately my question is, who would know this? Who could possibly know how this interaction took place? Steve is dead, Mouse's moms are supposedly on a cruise, Ash might know if Mouse told him, and I hate to say it, but Mrs. Langsbury might know. Steve knew Elodie because they were in a support group for parents who lost their kid, and Mrs. Langsbury could have joined that support group where Elodie would have talked about what happened between Steve and Mouse. The next room is a drug room for Noah, and then the third room is full of teenagers partying, and the scene depicts a girl having too much to drink and being carried away to be assaulted. This is upsetting to Imogen and Tabby, so they move on to the next room, which is Henry and Greg in their underwear and wearing football helmets who are going to hell for being gay. Farron is not having it. She tells Henry that he's a dancer and most of his friends are gay, and she asks Greg if he actually believes this homophobic bullshit. The liars move on to the last room where Imogen finds Kelly laying in her mom's bed with fake blood on her wrists, pleading not to be dragged to hell because she took her own life. Bro, Kelly needs to die. I don't care that she's been sucked into a cult. I am done with her. Imogen has a panic attack and the girls rush her outside where she finds an axe and cuts power to the house. After everybody leaves, Pastor Malachi meets up with Bloody Rose in the basement, and he talks like he doesn't know her, so apparently they're not working together, and then she stabs him in the face. Why did I think I knew anything? I don't know what's going on. The next day, Imogen shows up to the Beasleys to confront Kelly, and when Kelly still doesn't realize how fucked up she's acting, Imogen says she's going to make Kelly's life hell on earth. At the movie theater, Wes still hasn't shown up to work, so Tabby and Christian head over to his house to check on him. His door is unlocked, which is unusual, and not only does he have knockoff versions of Christian's masks, but he's been on Spooky Spaghetti, which is enough for Tabby to say screw Wes and whatever's going on here, but it's a little too convenient for me. It feels very set up. Sean shows up to Noah's house and tells him that somebody broke into his house and stole a bunch of stuff. Of course, his mom thinks it was Noah, but he stood up for Noah and told his mom to fuck off, so Noah can't break up with him right now. She does go to confront Jen, who is just like, yeah, I robbed your boyfriend. And it's actually not a deal breaker for Noah, who just tells Jen that she needs to pause things for right now. She robbed Sean's house. How are you not done with her? Since the town wouldn't let Ash host a pride parade, the group arranges for a pride event to happen at the community pool, where Greg shows up and tells Farron that he quit Redemption House. And I'm realizing they actually are going to try and put Greg with Farron. And he tells her that he left the church and Kelly. And they're really going to try to put Greg with Farron. And then he says that he's an ally because his cousin Kevin from Riverdale is gay and he wouldn't want to hurt him. Stop it. Stop trying to make Greg and Farron happen. Stop with the Riverdale references. Stop it. While making posters at the Pride event to protest Redemption House, Tabby comes up with the idea to use Christians' masks to scare everybody out of Redemption House and film it to expose them as hypocrites. I don't understand this plan, but they do it, and the girls raid the house with creepy masks and everybody runs out screaming. Imogen heads to her mom's room to scare Kelly, and she finds her final girl letter, which reads, "A final girl doesn't always get a warning call," and Bloody Rose enters the room and shuts the door behind her. The girls meet back in the basement while Imogen fights off Bloody Rose in the bedroom. She screams as she tears away bandages from Bloody Rose's face, and the girls rush to the bedroom to find her alone and in shock. They ask who she saw under the bandages, and she says she saw her mom. So the pastor isn't in on the whole Bloody Rose thing, Kelly is all in on Redemption House, and Imogen's mom is back from the dead? I know nothing. I know nothing about anything. But let's say that Imogen didn't really see her mom, because in what world would her mom have motive to come after her like this? So maybe it was a mask, which points to Christian being involved, since we know Wes is shit at making masks. Or maybe she was hallucinating because she was literally being choked to death. Or maybe Davy has a secret twin. I don't really know who could be behind all of this, because there's still been very little crossover between Bloody Rose and Redemption House, even though both of them are targeting the liars. On one hand, it could be somebody like Mrs. Langsbury and Christian, who are getting revenge on the girls for what happened to Chip by putting them through the final girl tests. But on the other, it could be someone like Mrs. Beasley and Karen, and unintentionally Kelly, getting revenge on the girls for what happened to Karen by basing Redemption House on them. Is it just a coincidence that the girls are being double victimized, or are they connected? I don't know. Let me know any theories you have or any clues you've noticed down in the comments.